Good morning and welcome to the VIP seat. Today is November 21st, and the top stories in aviation that we're covering this week include how Bezos and Diddy's Gulfstreams are both for sale, and why everyone is talking about the $175 turkey sandwich. Your hosts today include yours truly, Jessie Naor, and our co-host today, Antonio Ferrara. Antonio, welcome to the show.
Appreciate you having me. Thank you so much. Pleasure.
Awesome. So sit back, buckle up, and let's take off. All right, Antonio, before we hop into, our news of the week, so excited to have you on. I was reading a little bit about the nonprofit that you're working with, we're working on. Would love to hear a little more about what you guys are doing and what it is, and give us your elevator pitch.
Awesome. Yeah, no, thank you. Elevator, high level. I'm an aviation brat. I'm 39. My father's been flying for American for that long. He's 60. So I've been born in this. I've been in the biz av sector for about 15 years between that and GA. And most importantly, I'm a father to a nonverbal autistic son. So I just felt compelled to do something, create a better environment, a better, more inclusive place. Forget the buzzword, right? This is a little bit different for the community within aviation. It's from gratitude. I don't have a lot of issues like a lot of families do as far as barriers to travel, going to airports, getting on aircraft. So I wanted to do something. So our mission is to expose, educate, and empower the autism community in and through aviation. And that's through exposure events, airport tours, walkthroughs, travel services for families, and then take it a step further. I mean, 80% of autistic individuals with some form of diagnosis and a high school or college degree are underemployed or unemployed. So I'm invested in aviation. It's for better or worse all I've ever known. And our industry has tons of infrastructure that this community can fulfill. A lot of people focus on what they can't do. I like to focus on what they can do. They can be dispatchers, they can be engineers, data analysts. I mean, there's so much infrastructure, gate agents. So, we're going to be working with a lot of different organizations from the 135 to the 121 space. This is a big thing. 1 in 36 kids today are autistic or have some form of diagnosis. So we're just looking to support and really create meaningful experiences and opportunity for families with
That
loved
is
ones on
so
the spectrum.
That's so cool. And I mean, I think business aviation in particular is a great space because you have, this really small community type environments in a lot of cases and so many different opportunities, especially in corporate flight departments. That's a really cool mission. I love it.
I appreciate it. Yeah, I mean, probably, I'm a pretty selfless person. I like to think, but I think this is probably tops the list there. And I'm just super humbled and super grateful that so many people have latched on behind it and really been trying to elevate us so early. It's only been about 8 months. We're 501c3 pending. I mean, we're making all the right steps. We're helping, reaching out to communities, trying to support them how we can while we're not in a fundraising scenario. So I'm just super blessed, humbled, and I just hope to really just leave the world, let's say, in a better place for the autistic community, like my son, who is probably going to need lifelong assistance, right? So doing whatever I can to put a best foot forward for that community.
Love it. Well, we're going to link some information in the show notes. So everyone who has an interest, please take a look. It's a really cool mission. So let's roll into our stories for the day. The first one is a much frustrating topic to many operators and owners and everyone out there, and was a really funny point of discussion last week at Corporate Jet Investor, the $175 turkey sandwich. Or the $100 PB&J sandwich, or whatever it is. I think it's something we've all dealt with. But the number was mind blowing last week that Ken was talking about. $43 million a year they spend on catering at FlexJet, and $6 million of that is just silverware. So,
Yeah.
Antonio, I know you've dealt with this in the industry. What numbers are you seeing out there that are mind blowing?
I mean, I've been in this industry so long, and I always say it jokingly to a charter client or just anybody that asks, you're paying $70, $80 for a chicken finger basket with cold chicken, right? And we get it. There's food service laws, there's all types of things, right? But it's definitely always been an overpriced market for sure.
Yeah.
It's niche. Um, And, I think Ken's throwing his muscle around a little bit, with that comment, and more power to him. I think sometimes you got to try and move the needle, and bring light to things, whether it's all true or not. I mean, private equity's always been, I feel like,
Mhm.
in this space since the guys at Air Culinary started it. I mean, they kind of made the model for that, right? And just acquiring kitchens. How do you put a stop to it? I, for the most part, any of my charter clients, I'm not a big charter guy, but I work on a lot of referrals. I DoorDash unless I'm in
Mhm.
like Europe and I can or something. DoorDash, Uber Eats, you're getting hot quality food from the place they want. So it is mind blowing, and I don't know what it's going to take for somebody to step up and reel that in. Maybe it's somebody like Ken Ritchie coming in and maybe for lack of a better word, putting his money where his mouth is and trying to make the change.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, look, it's you can say, "Oh, this is private equity's influence," but no. I mean, when it comes down to it, it's because it's a really, really niche business, and it's always been very expensive. Maybe it's getting more expensive because of private equity, but at the same time, it's been a captive market. To
Yeah,
get catering everywhere, there's kind of one person that you can call to do that.
yeah,
Now there are more, and I would think at the prices that they're charging, this seems like an area that's ripe for disruption. Where
yeah.
are the catering companies or the independents that want to come out and do something, or the websites that aggregate their data? Yeah, I don't know if I blame it on PE altogether. I think it's been really niche, and
Yeah.
it's hard to deliver the lobster and steak that you want at 3 o'clock in the morning anywhere in the country.
That's literally, you took the words out of my mouth. I'm like, where else are you going to get a fillet at that hour? You
Right.
could try and pull it off in the morning for a DoorDash, but if you're doing a transatlantic flight or trans-Pacific, and it's an 18-hour flight, and they're picking up dinner now to reheat 8 hours from now,
Yeah.
it's how is somebody going to disrupt it though, right? People ask me all the time. I deal in this space in asset management. People come to me wanting to do catering, and I'm like,
Hmm.
great, but you're in Teterboro. Like, it doesn't help me. You're only helping me out in Teterboro. So maybe you're alleviating some of that burden for me in one spot,
Right.
but that's just one of 100 airports that we're at in
Right.
any given week. So it's going to be hard for somebody to maybe disrupt, and maybe that's like a FlexJet or a NetJet's building something in house,
Right.
and really being able to drive down some of those costs. All these operators, the FlexJets, the Vistas, are all focused on sustainability and carbon footprint. Well, how are you spending $6 million on plastic silverware? You should just have a no plastic silverware policy, and all your aircraft have silverware on them.
Right.
So it's nuance, right? I mean, we're just Monday morning quarterbacking this a little bit, but
Well, that's what the show is all about.
yeah.
Opinions, whether you like them or not.
Yeah, but I mean, I think if they upped the level of quality, I don't think it would be
Mhm.
such a big deal. I mean, if you follow BizAv memes or like any of the other people, like or any of the flight tests or anybody, you see stuff from Air Culinary or Rudy's all the time, and it's like somebody paid $300 for this whole spread, and it looks like, I mean, my 8-year-old could have done a better job.
Yeah, but at the
Um,
same time, it's not like there's, who do you know in Wisconsin in the middle of the night that's going to produce something that's of any quality? There's no options.
but they
That's,
advertise the quality though,
yeah,
right?
yeah, it's true, true.
So
If
it's we're at their mercy until somebody
I know,
can come in. I think it takes, like I said, maybe a FlexJet or a NetJets or a Vista to really build something in house that's scalable. Do I think
yeah.
Vista would do it? We're a Vista entity over at Talon Air, and do
Mhm.
I think they're in a position to do that? Probably not.
Yeah.
I think like a FlexJet or NetJets could possibly, and if he wants to get that number to come down, but that 43 million, a lot of that's probably flow through, right? I
Hmm.
mean, he's not paying. It's not like he paid for that.
I also want to know, well, how much of it is crew meals? Because crew meals is one of those. And look, I was a former big operator. Like, if the crew's not eating, you're going to have problems that day. So you better make sure they have whatever it is, even if it's a crappy turkey sandwich. Like, just get them something. And we would try the DoorDash thing. We'd try the Uber Eats, and inevitably they couldn't find the FBO, or it was a disaster.
Oh, yeah.
So we just went, with the big catering companies to make sure they had something to eat. But it's unbelievably expensive,
Even the
even then.
121 space is dealing with this issue. I was just talking with somebody
Mhm.
over from Breeze Airways last week, and a lot of her stuff that she deals with is crew movement, crew meals, catering, and all that. She's like, I can't find nobody in White Plains. Like, Rudy's
Yeah.
too much, this, that, the third. So, I mean, even the 121 scene in a crew care space.
Yeah. Well, if it was me and I was an FBO, perhaps that had many, many FBO locations and potentially the space, seems like a good area for you to potentially get into. Wink, wink, nod, nod.
Especially with places like Signature and Atlantic receiving a lot of private equity money over the past 5 or 6 years or so for all these acquisitions.
That seems like the least path of resistance. You already have the physical location there, the 24/7 staff,
Yeah,
but
most of them have a kitchen in there, or you could just put one in, right? I mean, what's
right,
a
right.
100 grand for a commercial grade kitchen?
Yep. Well, so just let us know. Pay us our consulting fee. Any FBOs
Yeah,
out there that take our advice here
yeah.
for this genius idea.
We're not too
Um,
bad. 10 grand a month. We're good.
yeah, yeah, nothing. Just peanuts compared to the cost of the sandwiches. Come on.
I mean, I hear some of the stuff people pay sometimes for things, and it's just mind-boggling. And then they wonder, where the bottom line is. So yeah,
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll roll into our next story because we could go on complaining about this forever. But we covered this story a couple weeks ago, and the famous jet tracker Jack Sweeney, he was like a high school kid who's been tracking Elon Musk, Taylor Swift, getting all sorts of letters and lawsuits. He was banned from Meta and Twitter and X, but that has not stopped. Well, it stopped him temporarily, but it's not stopped others. So now there are these massive Reddit groups that are popping up because this information is no longer available. There's one on Reddit right now that has over 200,000 followers just tracking Elon Musk alone. So I don't think that we're going to be able to fight this.
I mean, the day of I think secrecy is for a lot of things in this world is probably over. How many recent missing people have been solved through like the internet sleuths, right?
Mhm.
People have tons of time on their hand, and
Yeah.
they get amused, or they get drawn to these particular things. I mean, listen, I get it. I get what they all complain about, but it's like, hey, most of this stuff is like it's like public information. Anybody with a flight aware or this and that, and you can also, I mean, some tails are blocked. You go on and look up a Talon tail. A lot of them are blocked, right?
Mhm.
So I feel like, I mean, it's just so funny to me what these companies have done for somebody just tracking their airplane.
Yeah. Well, and I think too, it's like certain people are getting more attention than others. There's a lot of people that aren't getting attention, but because Elon has now kind of gone into this political space, I think he's getting a lot more heat. I mean, even one of the commenters said, I love this tracker. It's great to see a billionaire's physical presence in politics. But how quickly in 2025 does the data become unavailable? We'll see. I do know the FAA reauthorization bill that was signed earlier this year had some language telling the FAA, like, hey, you need to improve this, you need to figure it out. But still, at the end of the day, like, once you know a tail number, and the sleuths go there and figure it out through FOIA requests and whatever
Yeah.
else they do, I just don't think they're going to beat it. I think they just need to kind of accept it and figure out how they're going to maintain security regardless.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, it's on the principal, right, to maintain his security as a private citizen.
Hmm.
And again, I get it. I mean, I can't speak from experience. It's not like I'm mad at people, tracking me on my private jet. So I'm trying to like empathize and put myself in the shoe. But then on the flip side, again, you got people doing what? Like there's people getting publicity and causing a stir you know for more or less invading people's privacy, I guess, right? It's like both. I'm talking out
Yeah.
of both sides of my mouth. Like I'm so cut on this issue because I like find it super funny that all these rich people are like spazzing out, and then it's also a little annoying that you got some like college kid out there just like poking them. But that's also funny too.
Well, and they're claiming security risk. And yes, I do see that. But I also am like, well, but they're generally inside of a secure airfield. Like, they're getting off that plane and they're walking immediately to the black car that's got a security team. Like,
Yeah,
it's not Princess Diana in the tunnel. They're not like right on top of them. But at the
yeah.
same, I don't know. I think we probably just need to just accept our fate. I don't think that anyone's going to get out of being tracked anymore in airplanes.
Yeah, well, especially with the ADS-B deals, how that is now,
Yeah.
right? I mean, every plane's trackable. Like it's just the way it is. Everything talks to each other throughout the world.
Yeah.
Um,
And
so
that's getting to, where it's another good story that's out there right now is the ADSB tracking of, at airports and how they're
yeah,
charging, users based on the ADSB data when it used to just be, kind of a manual process. It's Big Brother is here, whether we like it or not.
Yeah, well, I mean, I feel like Big Brother with the FAA has always been looming, but again, they signed this authorization act, and there's no real specific language, right? There's nothing defining what they can or can't do. They just said you need to implement some changes, procedures. So, I mean, I think I'm sure you probably share a lot of the same feelings. A lot to do about nothing, people with not a lot to complain about, looking for something to complain about.
You're trying to be private, at least know that it's just probably not really within reach at this point. So,
Yeah, and we get it from a security aspect, right? You're an
mhm.
operator, I'm an operator. We try and maintain as much security and privacy and discretion for the clients as possible, right? But like with certain things like this, there's only so much beyond your control. Like I said, you look our tails on FlightAware, they're all blocked. So this information is private. Doesn't mean
Mhm.
you still can't get it.
Right.
There's workarounds, and I think it's
Well,
just like you said.
the layer of security, though, I mean, if you're chartering or fractional, at least that, they can't tell who the passenger manifest is. That is
Correct.
still private. So,
Yeah.
I mean, that is a way around it if you're that concerned. But if you're, the Elon or Taylor Swift flying thousands of hours a year, it's using a fractional charter is probably not in your best financial interest.
Well,
So,
do better with your trust and your entity structures, I guess, and try and keep it more discreet. I don't
yeah,
know, but once the paparazzi get you walking out an airplane, they got the end number. Right?
yeah, it's
There's no
done.
way
It's
around
done.
it. There's no way around it.
Right. All right. So next story today. This happened back in September, but we all know about Volato has shifted its aircraft fleet over to FlyExclusive. I'm still not completely sure what the terms of that deal were. It's just basically FlyExclusive took the planes and the management and the customers, but Volato is still functioning in some way. It sounds like they're doing some sort of like technology play now instead of operating aircraft. Not really sure where that's headed yet. But for the positive for FlyExclusive, they did say that this deal has produced over $600,000 for their bottom line in this quarter. So maybe a good deal after all. Well, definitely a good deal. That seems like they just got to add aircraft to their fleet that were operational and already had customers. But I don't know. What are you hearing? You think this is going to be successful for them?
Um, well, I don't know. See, I like to look at like history trends a little bit, and I've always pointed at Volato when people try and bring up different things, whether it's fractional or because they were getting so much traction. People will come to me about aircraft acquisitions, and they'd be like, "Oh, well, I can get this Honda jet, and I was promised X, Y, and Z, right?" So their model Volato was pretty much doomed from the start. And then whatever I forget, it Volant where they were trying to do the internet
Oh,
empty,
yeah. Empty
and
legs.
yeah,
Yeah.
it was just a mess. And then between all the lawsuits and everything, and I love Hondas. Like I love the brand, motorcycles, off-road stuff. I love Hondas, but I've never been sold on the Honda Jet. And
Yeah.
I think it's checkered past. So I think the verdict's going to be out. I think it was a really smart acquisition as far as getting that client base that's looking to fly, that's ready to fly.
Right.
And I mean they converted what like 70% or something of, the
Hmm.
current members. So I
Yep.
mean, from that aspect, it's great. I think the verdict's going to be out though. I mean, we just had another Honda Jet go off a runway.
Yeah.
It's not the first.
And
And they
well, and
just fixed. I think they just fixed the window issues. They were having window icing issues. I don't know if the plane, especially when they're rebranding the fleet a little bit and they're trying to get rid of
Mhm.
older planes and bring in the 350s. I don't know if the Honda Jets. I don't know if that's going to be a good play for them long term. I think they might end up selling those off. Maybe I don't know.
Yeah, yeah, maybe. Well, and I've felt the same way about Honda Jet. I think conceptually it's a great idea, but I think one of the problems I have with it is just range. If you're actually selling charter or trying to do significant trips that aren't in just a very close regional area, it's
Yeah.
hard to do. Like we all know that our biggest route in private aviation is New York to Miami or
Yeah.
some,
Mhm.
variation of that. And when your aircraft can't do that consistently, it's hard to kind of, I think, integrate it into a large fleet that's supposed to be like a national operator.
Yeah.
But it does work really well for someone who lives in a certain location and needs to go kind of short range from those areas.
Yeah.
But it's pretty teeny tiny in there.
Yeah.
I'm just
And
gonna say.
yeah, and I think the windshield design. If you look at that windshield, I could see why it's got windshield issues. I mean, it's all
Hmm.
rounded. It's like there's probably three more panels than there needs to be on that thing. The brakes, everything. I mean, I think with you mentioning that, I think for Fly Exclusive with their base right there on the East Coast, kind of central down the middle, right? It does give them pretty good trajectory on that aircraft, right? They're in North Carolina. They can get to DC or Teterboro. They can get down
Yep.
to Florida, and it's pretty much well within the aircraft's mission capabilities. Again, I think it's going to be what's the future of that airplane?
Yeah. Well, and it's got to be the right customer. And can you build a large fleet off of that set of customers? I don't know. I don't know what the data is on that.
I would love to
And
talk to them. I bet you they're going to try and get the owners on those fractionals to
Mhm.
fraction in on something else that they're looking for and move those jets. Because I guarantee you, a lot of those owners are already like pissed. There was lawsuits with the owners. I mean, there was so many issues about
It
the
was a
engines
mess.
needed to be run if they sat and you were voided warranty. Nobody knew, you know. So I'm sure, and I think it's a smart play. I mean, this is like a really good one for Fly Exclusive. I just think we got to see what the fleet does.
Yeah.
You
Well,
know.
Jim's a smart guy and a well-known big operator. He knows
Yeah.
his airplanes. I mean, it's a mixed bag though. The report, their earnings, while their adjusted EBITDA losses have improved over the quarter, revenues did decline in the current year, which I get, it makes sense.
Industry wide.
Yeah, it's post summer travel. As we get into Q4, it should be busier. But it gave them a lower earnings per share, so the market didn't like it necessarily. But they did grow year over year. So mixed bag for them. Will be interesting to see what they do with those airplanes. But at least so far, seems to have worked out pretty well for them for the
What do
moment.
you think about them going public?
About Flight Exclusive going public.
Yeah.
So, I think actually, again, I'm like talking about Ken Rickey like the last 2 weeks because he had a great presentation the other day and he was talking about his decision not to go public and how, he thought it was really the right move.
Yeah.
Um, I'm like so split on it because I understand you need a lot of money to scale these fleets, to get to the point where you're actually going to be competing with the net jets, the flex jet, like you really have to have some way of raising massive capital. So obviously that's the way to do it if you can continue to, prove yourself and garner the trust of people. Fly exclusive more than others, they did go public when they were financially stable, unlike some other companies that were,
Yeah.
pre-earnings.
Yeah.
So I think if anyone can make it, maybe they can, but at the same time it just puts so much scrutiny on your business, and people like us get to money back quarterback,
Yeah.
every time something comes out and say, well, what about this, what about that, that's the downside.
Yeah. And our industry is volatile enough as it is.
Mhm.
And so to back yourself up against the wall and let rich people's emotions kind of dictate what your price per share is, right? Your revenue goes down, people look at it, dumping shares, picking shares, you've got, owner reports, you've got everything, right? And it's tough. I've always said like there's like two or three that should be public. And then like
Mhm.
FlexJet, NetJets, and not even I don't even think Vista is because Vista leverages a whole lot of credit too, right? Like Wheels Up shouldn't be going public when you're leveraging a revolving line of credit from, the bank.
Yeah, well, I
Um,
mean, like even Vista, even though it's just through bonds, like they're getting their own, level of scrutiny from that approach. I
yeah.
think maybe that's the better approach though, because at least it's a different kind of scrutiny. It's not so detailed and overwhelming. But
I think Ken made
every
a good choice. I think the right choice for people in our industry is not to go public.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
But hey, if you need money and you need to grow and that's the way that you can do it, I can see the attraction. I see it. And especially when this was happening, it was just everyone was going public.
Yeah.
This was the thing to do. Looking back on it, would he have made the same choice? I don't know.
Yeah. I blame Kenny Dichter for that one. I think they kind of started that race a little bit.
Yeah, well, it was just a time of exuberance. Everyone had money. That post-COVID,
Yeah.
injection of capital into the industry was just wild. Everyone was buying, everyone was flying. It was, only blue skies, but then that kind of rapidly changed.
Well, I think. Listen, there's so many great and moral and ethical people in our industry, but as you know, there's a lot of people that are opportunistic, and
Mhm.
I think definitely a lot of that happened during COVID, and I think that's why we've seen such a big retraction too.
Yeah.
Even with transactions have slowed, significantly. Even everyone thought the election was going to happen, and everyone was going to rush to buy airplanes. Not really, you know.
No, no. I think they're all waiting to hear what's happening with depreciation. Like we know that it's
Yeah,
probably going to happen, but until it's written and signed, I don't think anyone's going to be rushing to like go
yeah,
and buy a bunch of airplanes until if next year they get 100% bonus. Like why would I do that now? So
100%. Yep, I agree.
But that's a great way to transition to our next story, because if you are in the market for a Gulfstream, especially a celebrity themed
Yeah.
Gulfstream, Jeff Bezos, he just listed his 650 ER. He took delivery of his 700 back in August, and now he's got the 650 on the market. Usually new, these go for around 65 million, but this deal is only $39 million. What a deal. And, Bezos flew on it. So the cool factor there is just, it's just great.
Yeah.
It's a nice aircraft.
Uh,
He's flown around 850 hours this year across 334 flights. That is a lot of flying. I mean, so he's really maximizing the utility on this thing.
yeah, I mean, at 10 years, I haven't looked at. I didn't even see. I should have looked for the listing. But I mean, 10 years. Even if he flew half of that, the majority of it. I mean, still pretty. It's pretty high time aircraft. But
Yeah.
it's going to be. It was well taken care of.
Oh yeah.
And I mean, everybody. It's a difficult airplane to sell right now.
Yeah. Well,
Everybody did what he did. Everybody wants the 700 or the 6500 or the 7500. There's the amount of 550s and 650s that are just sitting on the market right now, which is continuing to climb.
yeah. Yeah. It's still a funky time. I mean, I'm hearing like there's certain pockets of things that are selling, and this might be one of those that's not selling as quickly. But we'll have to see. Maybe just the fact that it was Bezos's and it's probably got a really nice interior and is outfitted well. But I did find, I mean, him hanging on to that for 10 years. I mean, that's a significant operational
Mhm.
period. He's not just, I think it shows the real utility that it's for, and that it's not just some like rich guy's toy. Like he's actually like
Yeah.
using this thing. Like it's not just for fun.
Yeah, I gotta look at the market. I mean, 10-year-old Gulfstream at 40 million with that many hours, he's probably got a price. He's probably got the Bezos price tag on it a little
Hmm.
bit, just looking at that number without looking at the airplane. But hey, you know the game. You can ask for whatever you want, you know?
It's just a way to start the deal.
Yeah.
But the one that I
It's
find
better than call for price.
right, yeah, at least there's a number out there. Well, and I don't know if it's actually on the listing or not. It's like from this article where they're like assuming. I'm not
Oh
sure,
yeah,
but
yeah,
that's what one of the articles
okay.
said.
Yeah, but I mean, well, listen, we manage, not a guy like this, but I mean, we have one of our clients bought IBM's old aircraft, and it's
Hmm.
super well taken care of, and
Yeah,
it's a 550, and it's late model. Well, like those are the kind of those are if you're buying a plane like that and you're a 91 guy, that's going to utilize it. That's the kind of plane you want. If you're going to charter it out too, it's a good plane,
yeah, yeah. So the other one I found really interesting, and don't laugh at me because I call him P Diddy. I know he's Diddy, but I know him as P Diddy, and I can't say like Diddy just sounds weird to me. Like, is that
I'm
like a
aging
millennial
myself. I know
thing?
him as Puff Daddy. That's what
Puff
I'm.
Daddy? Yeah,
Yeah,
like
that's I'm old.
I'm the P Diddy era, okay? Like I know he was Puff at some point, but I'm like
Yeah.
P Diddy is the one stuck in my brain. But also
This is a
his
funny
G,
one.
yeah, it is. The G550 is apparently for sale. It's also for charter if you're so interested. But apparently he's working on raising funds for his upcoming legal battles. I would say that thing's probably been used and abused in more ways than one.
Yeah. Now this plane I'm a little bit more familiar with because I did get a quote for a charter on this airplane.
Huh.
Um I don't know what this thing's going to be selling for, but I think everybody that realizes it's his plane is going to hold their feet to the fire.
Yeah.
Plus there's like 45 G550s on the market or something silly right now.
Yeah, that's
And then
going to
if you
be a
look at
tough
his
one.
interior, it's probably the original. Like if you pull it up, it looks super dated. It looks around like a 2015 interior.
Yeah,
And plus, whoever buys that plane is probably going to want all new soft goods.
absolutely.
You
That's
know?
I don't the surfaces of that aircraft
Yeah,
are probably not something that I would be interested in flying on, but oh man.
you're gonna
Poor
have to call like a Eric Roth or like a Seth Newman for a new interior. Like I need leather, carpet, sidewalls, headliner,
yeah. Yeah,
everything.
maybe they should go ahead and do the retrofit before sticking that thing on the market. It's probably a good
Yeah,
idea.
yeah. I mean, I love black jets, so it's got that going for it.
Cool. Yeah.
And 2 years ago, this would have been an easy sell.
Yeah.
Currently,
Yeah.
so I think whoever gets it's going to have a great. What's the word I'm looking for? Great mantelpiece, a story piece. Tell everybody about when they're on the airplane.
It will definitely be a fun story, if nothing else. Just yeah, maybe good time to go ahead and get all the interior done in the process.
I love the history of like old aircraft owners. I've seen so many planes come through and like, oh, Ozzy Osbourne used to own this G3, and this other guy had it and he used to fly it in here all the time and bring us in there and show it. It's just
Mhm.
I just love like older airplanes like that. Or just any with history, people that own them. It's just another cool factor of our industry, right?
Yeah, but you have to be careful because even like the Epstein plane, planes are notorious. And recently, I mean, even during the political season, because one of Trump's people chartered an Epstein plane, then all of a sudden there's this weird like media connection between
Yeah.
Epstein's plane and this person, and it's like, no, they have nothing to do with each other
Yeah.
whatsoever. So if you're going to charter it, that's something I would be keeping in mind too. Like, I don't
Yeah.
know what's going to result from this case, but it could be interesting. So,
Yeah, and last little thing, like Talon Air here, we used to manage Bernie Madoff's aircraft.
hmm
I've been here 10 years, and that was just before I got here. And I heard when he got arrested, the founder of Talon Air, Adam Katz, basically just commandeered the aircraft, sent it out on the road, like didn't bring it back, and just chartered the heck out of it because he probably got taken a little bit. If Bernie was his friend and he was managing his jet, he
yeah.
probably got burnt a little bit too. So yeah, I mean, just another
Jeez.
thing like that. And the line guys here used to be like, yeah, we would load up heavy suitcases, and they would go to England, and the suitcases wouldn't come back. And I'm like, oh
Mhm.
my goodness, like so crazy. And that was like a Legacy 600. So yeah, like it's like it could be good, could be bad.
Yeah, infamous and buyer beware. Just think about what you're going to be doing with that thing.
Yeah.
If you do get probably an excellent deal, though, I would say that's probably going to be one of the best ones out there
Did
if
you
you're
see
looking for a
what
good
do you
price.
see what the 550s registered under?
Oh no,
Love Air LLC.
no, that's just wrong. It's just wrong.
Now you think about it, you're like, holy shit, it was under our nose the whole time. Sorry for the language.
Oh no, it's true. It's true. I mean, there were all these like, oh, you go back and listen to these songs and you're like, oh, wait. Like
Yeah.
that doesn't work. Oh
Or the
God.
Justin Bieber video where like I've adopted him for the next 24 hours. And you're like,
Oh
uh-oh.
man.
I know.
Man.
Bieber.
Man, it's you just really can't get away with stuff if you're a celebrity, guys. Like just
Yeah. So crazy. So crazy.
It is. Well, all right. So the last story of the day, which obviously is very close to me, and it is a little sad, but Wheels Up has officially acquired Grand View Aviation's fleet. The deal went through just a couple days ago. I talked about this a little bit on the last show, but I just wanted to a shout out here because there are some fantastic people in that operations team that are looking for jobs. So if anyone out there has some roles that you think a highly trained Grandview person would be a good fit for, tons of people looking for work, except for the pilots. They did keep the pilots and the airplanes.
Of
But
course.
I just want to give a little shout out there because I feel bad for my former team, and I know there's some amazing people there that are homeless now. So
Yeah. Well, I've got lots of connections in the staffing space in here too. I'll connect you with my HR director over here, and if we have anything or point you, I'm happy to help anybody from your team and your network there. Um, Listen, you say it's bittersweet. I'm like a big critic of Wheels Up. I mean, I'm a
yeah.
nobody, right? But I don't like the way they've done business. There's a lot of different things. I think they've, potentially slowed private aviation down in certain aspects, from whether it's
Mhm.
acquisitions to charter. There's just some moves that they've made, but this is probably the best move that they've made to date. You
Yes.
know, you bought 17 aircraft that are cheap to operate, have good profit margins, and have a really good mission profile. So,
Yes.
like, out of anything they've ever done, this is great. Let's just see if they don't screw it up, for lack of a
Well, I
better
mean,
term.
I said 10 years ago, like 10 years ago, the ideal fleet was the Phenom 300 and the Challenger 350. Like
Yeah,
those are the two that you want on a heavy utilization, busy charter fleet. So
yeah,
agreed.
yeah.
Yeah, no, it's kind of crazy. So no, the Grandview name will be going away. They're already transitioned over. I mean, I'm already hearing that. I mean, Wheels Up is doing the bookings for everything at this point. So it's the end of an era for sure.
What,
No
and
more
they're
Grandview.
slapping paint on airplanes and all that.
Yeah, I think, I mean, it's time for a retro on some of these because I mean, some of the fleets, 2014, 2015, it's like it's
Yeah.
time anyway. But yeah, they're gonna upgrade them, paint them, and slap Go Galileo on there and see if they can make some money.
So what are you hearing from, your people in there that are pilots that are staying on? Like, what are their thoughts? What are they being told? I mean, that you can share, right? You don't have to tell anybody's names. But like, what are you kind of hearing on the inside?
Honestly, I haven't heard much from the pilots at this point.
Yeah.
I really don't know. I assume that they're gonna. I don't know what they're doing with seniority. I mean, there's so many variables to this that do get tricky with crew members. But
Yeah.
at the same time, I don't think there's a lot of people hiring pilots right now necessarily. So, if I were a crew member, I'd be pretty happy that at least a big operator with good rules and programs is taking over.
Yeah.
But we'll have to see. We'll have to see.
And they're more, I mean, wheels up. I mean, another good thing they did in the, I guess, like the last year or so is they did sell off a lot of that AOG. Who picked that up? Who picked that up? Was that AirShare? I
Yes.
think it was
Yeah.
AirShare that picked up that. So right there, a wise person, way wiser than me, always told me, and I don't always listen to him. You can't do it all.
Yeah.
So I think in the current climate they're in, where they're just working off these revolving lines of credit from the bank, and Delta keep continuously saving them,
Yeah.
um, getting out of the AOG space, picking up like an operator like this that they can now grow off of, and now just
Mhm.
target these 300 300Es, and then obviously maybe like a super mid. And if you want to get froggy, maybe start looking at the Praetor 500s or something, which is, I don't have to tell you, the 5 and the 600 are just like phenomenal aircrafts.
Oh yeah. Well, and like you said, look, they're making all the right moves. Like they're not there yet, but they are hoping for EBITDA, adjusted EBITDA.
Yeah,
Adjusted EBITDA is not EBITDA,
yeah.
but I'll give it to them. They're looking for positive adjusted EBITDA by next year. So maybe this will be a comeback story. Who knows? But we need a little more time to tell, that's for
They
sure.
they just keep changing shoes,
Yeah.
more or less, between everything that's gone on. We've had clients leave us, go to Delta Private Jets, which was, wheels up, just for all that to go under to come back to us like a year and a half later. Wasn't getting what they needed, right? But
Yeah.
that's anywhere. I mean, you started an operation like that's a black eye every operator has to wear from the previous operation.
Mhm.
So I mean,
Well, and two,
let's
our
see.
customers out there are picky. Unfortunately, it's aviation and something is always going to go wrong. Is the operator able to maintain the relationship based on what's gone wrong? Or, how many failures do they have? Like things are going to happen. How sticky is the customer to you is going to be on how you've treated them, for the whole lifespan of that relationship. And that's the tough part.
I agree, and that's one of the aspects why I think a lot of people keep bringing up AI in our industry, right? Like AI is going to take brokers' jobs, and AI is going to do this. Like maybe from like a booking aspect where you're going on a platform, but these people that fly private have companies. They have hundreds of employees working for them. They come from positions of power, and they want an accountability person. They don't want to. They can mother f a robot on the phone all day, and they're going to get nowhere. Sorry,
Yeah.
sir, this is not proper. Whatever. They're always going to want that point of contact,
Yeah.
from a charter request to an acquisition to just a question, right?
Mhm.
So no, I totally agree,
Yeah.
with that
Or they,
sentiment.
they don't want to talk to you until that $175 turkey sandwich is disgusting. And they
Yeah,
want someone to yell at. So.
100%. Yeah.
All right. Well, with that, we're going to wrap up the podcast today. Thank you so much for joining us. The VIP seat is the best way to get top news on what's happening in private aviation. Don't forget to like and subscribe and follow us on our weekly email digest. Comments and suggestions on what we should cover next are always welcome. So thank you so much for being here, and we'll see you next time on the VIP seat.